Fantasy managers, hello, and thank you for all your recent support on all of our social pages, reviewing the podcast on at Esports Live Now and at FPL_addicts, as well as a massive thank you to our 800 plus and growing Euro fantasy community. But welcome back to another edition of the FPL Addicts powered by Esports Live Euro 2020 fantasy podcast, where today we'll be reviewing the round of 16. What a round it was, by the way, and previewing the quarterfinals through discussion regarding our team from the quarterfinals, the Guru's picks for the ones to watch and captains, and some general discussion around the essential assets for the upcoming 4 fixtures. With me, as always, to dissect the round of 16 and review and preview the quarterfinals is going to be Jack from Esports Live and the Guru Matt Day from FPL Addicts. So we'll start with you, Jack. How are you doing, mate?
Buzzing, Elliot. Obviously, we're all English on here, so obviously we've all been riding the wave. It's ours till we lose, right?
I think so, mate. I think that the pressure's mounted on a little bit more now, but what a win it was, wasn't it?
Unbelievable win. It was obviously they're a huge country, huge nation, a lot of history between us both. And it was a massive win. It was a spine-tingling goosebumps. And I know we celebrated like Scotland did when they drew against us, and we celebrated like we did against Germany. But it was a special moment, and you could tell how much it meant to everyone, and all the players stepped up, and it was a great moment to share.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Guru Matt has obviously watched it with you as well. So how are you doing, Matt? Was it a good early start to the morning, we'll say?
Yeah, it was good. We had a great time, and obviously, I thought it was a great performance by England, and obviously I was just absolutely buzzing because my England shirt come through the post. It had Kane number 9 on it. There was 4 minutes to go, and he bangs in that header, and it was brilliant. And to be honest, I don't want to say anything too soon, but I can't see anything more than England. I think they're in the final, me.
I think you said it.
I have to say it.
It's coming home, is it? Come on, the Guru. You can say it's coming home.
I'm going to say final for now, but I can't say much more. I don't want to jinx anything. But I think I'd be very, very surprised if England don't go all the way to the final from here.
Yeah, and it was great to see. Obviously, some of our favourite players, everyone in the nation's been calling for Jack Grealish to step up, and obviously a lot of people put him in their team for the first couple of rounds. And it was good to see him finally doing the goods there.
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely love Jack Grealish. Great player. Coming in off that left with that ball in the box for Kane. And, I thought that was brilliant. Let's just hope it's not a link up at Man City next season, though. But, fantastic player, Grealish.
And just on that, do you think they're both odds-on favourites to be going? Do you think it's a done deal?
You know what? I think they could be there. It looks like the combination. Grealish has come out, I think, this morning as well and said Kane's the best player he's played with. So, I think there's a bit of bit of ground with that with him and Harry going to Man City. It could be one to watch for next season.
Yeah, and obviously just on that note, we're going to be launching our FPL Addicts powered by Esports Live competition very shortly. I think we just need to get these Euros out of the way, and then we can get this launched. But obviously, everyone's got to keep their eye out to join our free mini league and the paid mini leagues, which should be out in the next couple of days. We're just working behind the scenes on the on the marketing side of it to make it look schmick. Excited for that?
Oh, mate, you know me, can't wait. Dreaming about FPL all the time. I think for me, since it's always in the back of my mind, even during the Euros, I'm looking at my FPL side. I've got my draft team. It's not really like me. I like to pick it in the last week, but I think
too much excitement
at the moment. Yeah, too much excitement and stuff, and seeing the players are about to go back into pre-season, and we'll come to the tail end of this Euros. I think it's definitely worth keeping an eye. But like you said, we're going to have our paid leagues, we're going to have our free leagues. If you're in the free league last year and you've made your FPL team, you're already going to be in the league anyway. So we're hoping to have big numbers in both, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, that's it. And listen, understandably, with all the transfer activity, the hype around the Euros, that's why we are getting excited. It's just too hard to resist, and we've done all our draft teams in there. But obviously, everyone can just kind of sit tight, and we'll be releasing that very shortly. We know our community. I think it's because of our community is getting quite excited about it as well on Discord. There's been a lot of chat about that already, so I think that's the reason why. Obviously, we're keen to get into it as well. But obviously, just going back to the Euros now. We're just going to wait for Elliot to jump back on the stream. I know he's having a few internet issues on there, but we'll just review where we're at in the round of 16. Wales losing to Denmark 4-0. Any thoughts on that, on the Denmark game there?
Yeah, look, I watched that game and I was very impressed with Denmark. Very impressed. Dolberg come in, and that surprised a lot of people. Obviously, we all thought Poulsen was going to play, but I think he had a knock, and Dolberg's come in and he scored two nice goals. And I think it was Myler, the left fullback as well. He got that goal at the end, and he was everywhere. Brilliant. Really good game. Wales just got outplayed. The Denmark crowd was brilliant, and 4-0 was actually a justified result. It could have been a lot more. Thought Denmark completely blew them away, and that's without obviously Eriksson. So really happy for Denmark. Obviously, I was gutted with Bale in that one. Elliott swayed me. I put him in my team just for that one last sort of potential chance of having Bale in a fantasy team, and he didn't deliver. He did he nearly scored early on, but he was flat for the rest of the game. But well done Denmark.
Yeah, looking good, Denmark, and obviously carrying that momentum that they've had since Eriksson obviously had that issue during the game. Good to see he's still obviously recovering well, and Denmark are doing the goods for them, and obviously they're into the next round. But Dahlberg and Marler, like you said, looking really good in there, and I know he was great for me in my team, so I think he's definitely one to look out for in the next ones. And then obviously over to Italy, they just managed to scrape through versus Austria, went through to extra time in there. A couple of goals from substitutes, Chiesa and Pessina. So they're going to progress. Czech Republic, surprisingly, obviously Netherlands were the kind of the first shock team to go out the competition, go crashing out 2-0 to Czech Republic in there. Schick back on the goals. How did you think that went?
Yeah, look, I think everyone was surprised. I know there was. I think I'd sort of said from the start with Holland, I wasn't too sure about De Boer. I wasn't too sure about the formation. So I did expect them to crash. Didn't really expect it in this game though. But I think that red card really was the killer for them. Yeah,
that was an absolute howler, wasn't it, from De Ligt, and obviously getting sent off so early, the captain. And obviously, Netherlands. I'm sure one of our Netherlands correspondents within our Discord, Seb, wasn't too happy about that. He's been pretty quiet this week since that happened. Obviously, over to Belgium as well. Belgium versus Portugal. Now we knew this was going to be a tough one. Obviously wasn't too sure who was going to come out on top there, but Belgium came out on top with the other Hazard brother. He got through and obviously came up with the goods, got the goal. It was a cracking finish as well. How did you think about that?
Yeah, look, that was a cracking finish, and obviously when he put it in, I was, it was bittersweet for me because I'd said in the for our paid members, I did the exclusives, and I said you got to get Thorgan Hazard in. He's been looking sharp in this tournament. And he bangs in that goal, so I was buzzing from the my guru perspective, but in terms of listening to my own advice, I was a bit upset because I just didn't put him in. It was actually a last minute change with Renee. Actually, obviously she's got Miko's 11, and we were going through her team, we were going through my team, and I said, look, we could put Eden Hazard's brother. She remembers Hazard from her FPL days, and what do you think, Belgium, Portugal? And she said, no, I wouldn't be backing a Belgian player against Ronaldo, and she kind of swayed me as well. I got swayed, even though I knew in the exclusives to do well. So, but great result for Belgium and great goal.
Yeah, you're pretty gullible this week for getting your head turned left, right, and centre for different picks. But I know Thorgan Hazard was one of your exclusive picks, which, in our paid competitions, in our paid minis on our Discord, we are releasing some exclusive tips from the guru. So just bear that in mind when we're going forward into FPL. And welcome back, Elliot. Nice of you to join back on the pod, mate.
Yeah, a little bit of a hiccup there. Apologies, lads, but I'm assuming we're reviewing the results from the round of 16. So I heard you were a little bit upset about that one, Guru. Obviously in your little Guru section and your exclusive stuff, you talked about Thorgan Hazard a little bit. So it's a shame that you probably couldn't take your own advice there. But what a goal fest! Two games mainly, I think, stood out for me, other than the England game in the round of 16. And one of them, as you can see on screen now, Croatia 3, Spain 5, 3-3 going into extra time, and then Spain just managed to get over the line. Is there any sort of assets that you think you should be looking at now from Spain, Guru? Because they're not looking too bad. They looked a little bit shaky at the start of the competition, but they're looking pretty decent now, don't you think?
Yeah, they're looking good. I've actually been pretty impressed with them throughout the tournament. I don't think they've lost a game, and I remember they're sort of on our nation watch as well. I think in terms of assets, definitely Ferran Torres. He looks sharp. He's getting in goal scoring positions. And I'd say there's a second one. I do think it's going to be a bit of a banana skin for them against Switzerland. But if we're going to put a second Spain asset, I'm going to go with go against the grain. I'm going to go with Alvaro Morata. Again, he's missed a few, but his goal was brilliant against Croatia, and he gets in all the positions. So and he gets chances, and I think similar to the Harry Kane thing, that they've got their goals now. So I think there's more in them. So yeah, I'd be looking at Ferran Torres and Morata from Spain.
Yeah, absolutely. He's copped a fair bit of a stick on social media and stuff the Euros so far, Alvaro Morata. But yeah, he's definitely, as you say, getting in all the right positions. It's just that he's got to manage to tuck them away. But the other game that I was alluding to a little bit before was France 3, Switzerland 3, and the Swiss, as I'm sure Chris was extremely happy, as he loves the Swiss, were able to beat them just on penalties. But it was a little bit bittersweet for him, I'm sure, Jack, because he's talked up Mbappe for a lot of the competition, and he sort of left the competition with one assist and nothing else to his name other than a missed penalty, which has sent his team out. So it's a little bit of heartbreak for France. But from an England perspective, you've got to be happy that they're out of the competition.
Yeah, another one of the big teams to be leaving us from the group of death, and obviously heaps of goals. Paul Pogba getting on the score sheet with an absolute worldie of a goal. But it wasn't enough to get through. Benzema was my captain in my team, so he got me the points to keep me up there in the paid comp. But Switzerland going through, looking good in there. Assist by Zuba again. Xhaka has become a totally new player. I think he might be out for the next game, but he's looked great in the Euros so far. Arsenal fans must be scratching their heads. And so yeah, a bit of a shock. Not a shock for Mbappe not really turning up for this tournament, but obviously, there's too many big names in that France team to maybe cut above.
Yeah, absolutely, and he was absolutely prolific at the World Cup a couple of years ago, and obviously he's still so young, so it's difficult for him to sort of manage to chip his way into that really, really strong France team. But as you can see on the screen now, the game that we could probably talk about for hours and hours without getting bored was England 2, Germany 0, and your man Harry Kane back on the score sheet, Matt. You've got to be happy with that.
Oh mate, over the moon. I'm happy for him. He took a lot of stick in the group. But I don't think he deserved all of the stick he got. I knew he'd come good. I thought he had a pretty good game when he got the ball, and when he did get service, he provided. So yeah, buzzing for Harry Kane, but obviously overall happy that England got the win.
Yeah, and Jack Grealish, share a first name with him, so there's a little bit of a bond there. If you could play similarly to him, then you'd be absolutely in dream world right now. So he was amazing once he came on once again. Showing why he probably is in contention to start, in my opinion. But it just depends which way Southgate's going to look at it. Is he going to look at it? He's better off the bench, or he's better off the from the start. So it's a little bit of a weird one, but do you think he's one that people should be looking at? He's got 2 assists at the Euros so far now, and he's not the most expensive player in the world. So do you think he's one that people should give a look in?
Well, I think Grealish has got to be up there, and we were just saying just when you went off air before, he's looked great. Has he showed too much that he's too good to come off the bench? Like he's coming off the bench to do it, but Gareth's got to be starting him. I think he's only fair to do, and I think Saka, I don't know if he was maybe looking doubtful or something for the next game. So I think if Grealish can come in, and it's not a bad replacement, is it? And he's a great asset to have for your teams. Even Luke Shaw, he was involved in. I think he had a pre-assist in the second goal. He got the assist in the first, or vice versa. Obviously, with all that excitement, I need to go back through that. But it's Luke Shaw looking great as well, and Jordan Pickford, what a keeper he is! What a keeper!
Yeah, don't often, give Jordan Pickford much praise as a Newcastle fan, born and raised in Sunderland, plays for Everton now. A little bit of bad blood there, but I always say to all my mates, he's playing for England, everything goes out the door, and still to this day, I don't think I've watched an England game where he's had a performance that I've been unhappy with. He's sort of always put his body on the line, and he's always putting nearly 8 out of 10 each week, up to 10 out of 10 performances, in my opinion. So he's been absolutely brilliant.
I think like I said, he's not had a bad game for England, and just on that one as well, I've got a little stat for you from Raheem Sterling. First 45 games, I think it was, he scored 2 goals for England, and his last 20 he scored 15. Yeah. How about that for a stat? That's unbelievable form. So obviously, not to mention obviously Jack Grealish, Shaw, and Pickford there, but obviously Raheem Sterling, the man on fire.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been brilliant for England so far, and yeah, hopefully a little bit more of the same against Ukraine for England, and you have some very happy podcast members other than Statman Dave on the next podcast as well. But we will move on now to the paid league. We've talked about it a lot. Jack mentioned before that he's happy with the points which are keeping him up in the paid league, and it's really shaping up now with Matt Cowling in first place on 277 points. People have managed to sort of catch him up a little bit. He was nearly 20 points clear last podcast, I believe. So Marco Skokic, who was our manager of the week for match day 2, is sitting in second, and Jack Gillibrand is sitting in third, just 17 points behind Matt Cowling. So are you confident that you're going to be able to catch him, Jack?
Yeah, it was a bit further away, yeah, like you mentioned on the last pod. But it's now maybe within a bit of touching distance, gained a little bit of ground on him. I think he was about 30 points actually from what it was previous. But yeah, it's all about this next game. Take one game as it comes, just as England are, going to versus the Ukraine, who have qualified in there. But excited, looking forward to it. But it's very tight. Up at the top there, anything could change, I think. So especially between the second and fourth, and obviously the paid competition offers first, second, and third prizes, and of course the weekly prize as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if we keep looking at the league, just 2 places below you, Jack, is the Guru. But when you put that into a little bit of context, it's only 5 points off the pace from you. So are you confident that you're going to be able to at least catch Matt, Jack, the Guru?
Stay above him. Hopefully I can stay above him.
Yeah.
I think the Guru's not got his wild card, which we'll have a look at next. But he's he can pull the players out of the hat as we know. So it's something to be aware of. I know. I sent him my team the other day, and I'm sure he's been looking at mine and going, "Well, I could pick 10 better players than that." He's got to spend all his points, though. I think if he's got to deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. And Guru, are you confident that you're going to have enough to catch Jack?
You know what? And this isn't mind games. This isn't draft. FPL.
Here we go.
This isn't FPL mind games. This isn't draft. I actually don't think I will. And the reason is, I went very heavy on Italy in my team, and I think that goal at the end really cost me. I think it cost me about 13 points, and I didn't do the Mbappe, the Benzema move. I went Mbappe. I was trying to be a bit hipster with that, and it's probably cost me about 20 points I've lost really, and. I've moved down the league a bit, and Jack's got his wild card, and I think, the only way I can gain anything on him is when it comes to semi-finals. If how our lineups are looking in that, but with his wild card, I've seen his team is strong. I don't think I can get near that for this round. It could be about 15, 20 points in sight of me, and the only way I'm then going to be able to get above that is if I see how our squads look against each other in the semis, and if some captain can do something. But I'm actually not confident. But look, we see how we go, and see how it goes.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a change of tone, change of scenery. Jack, you're sitting above the Guru at the minute, so it must be quite nice considering the previous FPL season where you weren't above him for too long at all. But if we look back at the league, then just below Matt, we've got the 2 Gazden brothers in 6th and 7th. We've got Matt sitting just above James Gazden, who was actually the manager of the match day, which is pretty important to mention. He wins the round of 16 award with his 70-point haul, so he receives his 30 Aussie dollars prize money for getting the highest points for this round. And obviously, as Jack mentioned before, it's all eyes towards the top of the league now for the first, second, and third places for the end of the season prizes, with only just a couple of rounds to go now. But it's definitely going to be a really close finish, and obviously the 2 boys above me on the screen right now, I don't think I'm going to be in for the big prize money, but it'll be interesting, but it should be really good. And that it will hopefully a photo finish. It looks like it's going to be pretty close. I think Matt Cowling, people probably start to gain a little bit of ground on him, and hopefully it spices it up just a little bit. And I was looking at the free league before, lads, and it's quite interesting because FPL Spike, he was second in Australia, and nearly top whatever he was in the world. He's fallen off the top of our free league. He's down to 5th now, which is quite surprising, Jack, because I think it would have been 2 podcasts ago, so not too long ago, and he's fallen off just a little bit. He's still sitting on 283 points, but 5th in the free league now. It's a little bit of a drop from him, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we all know how ruthless fantasy football, whether it's Euros or FPL, can be. You can change very quickly, and within 2 rounds, he's dropped off. But listen, his score is still absolutely massive. If he had entered into our paid league a bit earlier, he'd been all right. But because I think he's still sitting above Matt Cowlin there by a good 6 points. Listen, I'm sure he might do well. I don't know if you can click on it and see if he's still got his wild card or not. I'm not too sure if he's used that.
We'll have a
it'd be interesting to see if
I don't think he does, because I
he's
did
played
see
them both.
On Twitter. He did tweet, and he was a bit gutted. I think that with what's happened, all the big players getting knocked out, and like you said, Jack, fantasy football can be ruthless. But I think that last round in this Euros was one of the most ruthless rounds I think I've seen in international fantasy football. Anyway, it was ruthless.
Yeah, a lot of the the people saying the group of death, and they're all dead now. So I don't really think too many people expected that, did they? That all three of the big dogs in that group would be gone,
No.
and the Netherlands and people like that, dropping out of the competition early, which was a massive shock. But it's just got to keep going, and definitely a few surprising teams that are still managing to hang in there. But it's definitely going to be a really good finish to the Euros. But we'll go back to the Free League now, and in first place, I think he was sitting in fifth. So I think him and FPL Spike might have even done a swap almost, as Akfazad in first place on 291 points, and then in second we've got Mohamed Omar on 290, just 1 point behind him, and then joint second we've got Mohamed Madin on 290 as well. So the Free League, there's a lot of people in here that definitely probably should have entered into the paid league, don't you reckon, Jack, that could have been able to earn themselves a fair bit of money?
I think they missed a trick there, haven't they? Could have been some easy money, especially for our top Akpizad. I think he's on 291 points. It's absolutely incredible. So fair play to him. He's obviously found some cheat code to go about this Fantasy Euro one. So we'd love to have him in our competitions next time, or not.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to see. But the Free League's definitely, really shaping up as well. So it's definitely an important one to watch. But they definitely probably should have entered the paid league and earned themselves a little bit of cash for all their FPL Euro fantasy knowledge. Sorry, but if we look at between us, between the five of us on the podcast, Jack, Matt, myself, Ollie, and Dave, in our little 5-man mini league, I'm sort of sitting in the middle of it now. Jack's shaping up at first, as we mentioned before, in the paid league. So you had a fairly decent week, Jack. 65 points is definitely a very, very good score. So just sort of take us through your team.
Yeah, as I mentioned, it was Benzema kind of saved it. I think that's been the beauty of the Euros, is that you can change his captain around. That's been huge for everyone, and helping you guide yourself through the tournament to make sure you stay as high as possible with your points. But and it wasn't. Listen, apart from him, it wasn't a massive haul. Forsberg obviously hit, which was great. Varane was pants in there because obviously they got knocked out and conceded too many goals. So I think he was a last-minute choice. I had Walker in there for a good couple of days, and for some reason I just took Varane out because I thought it was a guaranteed. But there you go, nothing's guaranteed in here. The Italian assets did well, a couple of points. Berardi just with the 3, but Spinazzola, who's absolutely been class. He got 5 in there. He's at Roma, right?
Yeah, I believe so, mate.
So it'd be interesting to see how Mourinho works with him this year. I'm sure he's going to stop him from attacking, but he's been a joy to watch. But my defensive assets, I think, for the last 2 rounds have been the ones: Spinazzola, Meunier, and Mahler from Denmark, and Meunier from Belgium. Obviously, absolutely delivering there for me. So 9 points, 21. 26 points between them. So I think, fair play and good defensive assets to keep and continue on to the next round for me. I'm definitely going to keep them as the core of my team. But obviously, Netherlands going out, so Wijnaldum and Depay didn't do any good. Højbjerg was a bit of my differential for Denmark. He'd had a good couple of games previous, couple of assists, but he was fairly quiet, even though the team got that 4-0 victory. And then De Bruyne, Immobile, Dumfries and Donnarumma didn't really do much in my team. On that note.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really, really good score, 65 points. But, you look at the Italy game, and as Matt mentioned before, the clean sheet that they've managed to, slip away from them towards the end. It was, quite disappointing because, you would have had, a couple more points there, would have got you into the mid-70s. And, you're looking at a really, really good score.
Yeah, it was disappointing, obviously, to see that goal go in, but obviously Italy they got through, didn't they? So I think it still keeps them assets. Obviously, with the bigger teams, the bigger nations, it's a bit easier to pick those big players, really, isn't it? But obviously, rather versus teams that you're maybe not so sure about from the little countries, even though they've done great in there. But yeah, listen, good score, happy with that, and on to the next one.
Yeah, and as Matt mentioned before, it's quite interesting with Italy, because I think a lot of people are really relieved that they managed to go through, because a lot of the other big nations, as we mentioned before, didn't manage to follow suit. But yeah, we'll move on to your team now, Matt, and 10 points less than Jack this week with 55 points, and you did go with Mbappe this week as opposed to a lot of people going with Benzema. So just sort of take us through where you went well this week.
Yeah, well, in terms of going well, I think similar to Jack, was it Marley at the back? I can't pronounce his name.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I think it is. We're not
The
sure.
Dane.
That'll do, mate. That'll do.
That'll do. He was brilliant. We were saying in there when we chatted about the results, he could have had more than just the goal and the clean sheet. He was just phenomenal.
Yeah, he's outstanding.
So he did well. And Forsberg, grabbed the goal. Sarabia from Spain grabbed me a goal, so I was pretty happy with that. So some decent scores there. Forsberg was also he was one that was close to changing him to my captain on the last day, and he was one that could have come out with a huge score. He hit the bar. I think he could have had at least a double. So I was happy with those guys, but I was pretty gutted in the Italy game, because obviously you get your 90 minutes clean sheet. Had 3 Italian defenders, and I thought 0-0. I've got all my clean sheets, and I checked the rules and realised extra time if they concede. So I was like, oh no, and then 5 minutes to go, and I just couldn't believe it. That's cost me about 13 extra points. So that was a bit of a shame. And then Mbappe missing chance after chance, and that was just disappointing. I had to back him. I think Reedy got on my head. I think you got on my head with Bale. Reedy got on my head with Mbappe, and obviously not doing the Benzema has cost me an extra 10 points. So I'm a bit disappointed with my score, to be honest. Not the best week, I don't think. Letting people get in my head, and I should have gone
my guru advice.
Yeah. You should definitely just start building a team around, the differentials and the ones to watch that you sort of start picking for yourself, mate, because, you've clearly got a little bit more knowledge than me and Reedy, and, we're definitely dragging your rank down there just a little bit. But, 55 points in a week like this, it wasn't too bad for you. But, we'll get onto it a little bit later, but it'll be interesting to see, sort of where you go from here now with all the players that have been eliminated. But if we move on to my team, I did unfortunately get less points than both of you this week, only 51. And as Jack mentioned with Benzema, he definitely saved my week as my captain. I backed him, after his 2 goals in the last game. He managed to do the same again and, get me 20 points. So it's definitely, it was the shining light from my week, if you will. And then, Yarmolenko was the only one in the midfield that sort of contributed with any sort of goal contribution with his assist. Berardi and, Wijnaldum obviously leaving the competition in general was quite disappointing for me, because he was actually my captain for that match day. So, I was a little bit disappointed with that one. But if we move on to the defence, Spinazzola, I was happy with. Marla, I was happy with as well. And then if you look at it elsewhere, there's really not much else that's going on. I had Bale, as I got into the guru's head, as he just mentioned, I was backing him. He was my captain on the opening day, changed it off him to Wijnaldum. So it was a little bit of a shocking week for me, I think. But I'm just grateful that, as we said, you can always change your captains and, keep making subs and stuff like that, because, it's definitely saved me this week. And I'm lucky enough to have my wild card. We'll get onto that in a minute, but I'm not too sure where I'll be going from here as well. But 51 points this week, and we'll see how it goes next week, and it'll be interesting. But I'm not too sure. But in terms of our 3 of us, Jack obviously ranked the highest this week out of points. He's sitting on top. So definitely fair play to you, mate. And that wraps up the review of the round of 16. So if we move on now from the review and we switch a little bit into the preview, as the guru drops out as well. We're dropping like flies tonight, aren't we?
Hopefully I can stay on.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We'll move on to the fixtures for the quarterfinals. We've been waiting for this, the knockout stages, as we said. Round of 16 was really good, so we're hoping that the quarterfinals, follows in the same suit. We start with Switzerland, Spain, 2 a.m. at Melbourne time. So that'll be, a little bit. I think that's going to be quite an underrated game, in my opinion. I think the Swiss,
some internet issues tonight.
They look really good. We can see that he's having issues. Jack, you're the only one so far that's not really had anything wrong with him. Yeah, definitely needs to get whatever internet that you've got there. But Switzerland, Spain should be a thriller in my opinion. So now that I've said that, it'll probably end up being a 0-0 and go to penalties. But yeah, you sort of back in Spain or Switzerland in this one, Jack?
Yeah, it's a tough one. If I'm honest, I haven't actually watched full games of Switzerland because obviously you never thought of them as a team to watch. Obviously, saw the more of the extended highlights for Switzerland, France. Obviously, they got some great attack and returns, Switzerland. So, strikers wise, is it Stefanovic and Goranovic?
Yeah,
yeah. Obviously, he bagged a brace in there. So I mean, he looked good, and Zuber, obviously I think he's had 4 assists in his last 2 games. Shaqiri, we know what he's capable of, even though we had a quiet game against France in terms of in front of the goal. But then Spain, the Guru talked about them being under the radar before the tournament kicked off. Morata, obviously, he's looking good. And then supporting him, Sarabia, he's been a bit of a surprise in terms of what he's converting, but he's looked good. And Ferran Torres as well to complete that. He's carried on a bit of those form from with City this year, where he's bagged, I think, numerous hat tricks and braces for City. He's popped up in the when he's been used. So yeah, them kind of 6 assets are looking good in there for me. What about you, Ella? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting one because I've spoke to a lot of my mates about it as well, and I actually think that Switzerland are going to do Spain here, and I think they're actually progress. I think people will be a little bit surprised. So I'm actually sort of with my transfers in my team, I was leaning towards getting a couple of Switzerland players in there. So I looked at the likes of Shaqiri and Seferovic and stuff like that. So I think it'll be really interesting. But I think Xherdan Shaqiri, I know I spoke about Bale having that sort of the wow factor to sort of just pop up in big games last week, and as Matt knows more than anyone, didn't really end up doing anything. But I've really fancied Shaqiri for this game for some reason. I really just think he's one that, if you've got your wild card or whatever and you can afford to, make unlimited transfers, he's definitely going to be one that's going in my team. Maybe I probably won't be giving him the armband on the opening day, but I think he's definitely one that people should be looking at. But then, as you mentioned, Spain, they look quite solid defensively, and obviously going out and scoring 5 against Croatia, they look quite good in attack. So it'll be interesting. But Guru, what are your sort of thoughts on that, on Spain? Obviously, you wrote that article about them before the season that Jack alluded to before, but if you had to pick one asset from either Spain or Switzerland for this game, who would you sort of pick?
Switzerland, I'm going to go with Seferovic, the striker who bagged 2 goals last game. He's shown he can score in the big games, so he looks pretty fixture proof. So I'll definitely be backing him. And then from Spain, I'm going to go Ferran Torres. He's just looked lively every time I've watched him, and he's getting in a lot of positions to score, assist. And he seems to be nailed on in their team. So, yeah, they'd be mine too. Yeah,
absolutely. I think they're pretty 2 safe picks there. They're probably going to be among the goals you'd like to hope. But if we move on to the second game, and it's probably game of the quarterfinals, in my opinion, I think you'd be pretty silly to not agree. Is Belgium Italy at 5 a.m. Melbourne time, and Belgium obviously beating Portugal. And then Italy managing to progress as well. They're going to be 2 heavyweights that are clashing. I'm definitely sad to see, one of them leaving the competition and not on England's side that we'd have to play. So, Jack, sort of from Belgium, the likes of Eden Hazard and De Bruyne, there's a lot of doubt over them, if they're going to be fit to play or not. But if you had to pick one player from Belgium, who are you sort of going with?
Oh, I'm going to stick with Meunier. I think he's been absolutely class. Obviously, he didn't start the first game. He came on for Castagna after about 15, 20 minutes, and he bagged 1, assisted 2, I think, in his first game. Yeah. And he's been outstanding. I think he's been put on the left and the right side. So he's looked really good in there. So, yeah, him for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, if we go over to Italy, Matt, firstly, I just want to ask you, with your team, we will get onto a little bit more of a discussion regarding our teams and transfers later, but you obviously mentioned that you were quite heavy with the Italy assets before. You're going to, you've sort of got to put all your eggs in one basket here without your wild card, do you feel, and just got to go with all the Italy assets that you can and just pray that they progress. So is that sort of the strategy that you're going to have to go with?
It's all I've got. That's all I've got, Elliot. If I'm getting this feeling Belgium are going to win this one, maybe 1-2-0. Just wasn't, it did get through, but last game, but they didn't impress me in that one. And Italy, I just think I can't see them winning this. And that would pretty much end my Euro fantasy campaign. So I've got to pray for the Italians, but I can't look past Belgium. So I've got everything in Italy at the moment.
Yeah, and it was interesting to see, Chiesa managing to pop up with a goal in that game as well. We spoke about him a lot on the podcast in the pre-season, and he was owned by, I think it was over 30 or 40% of managers, going into that first game, and got outshone by Berardi in the first game, but he was among the goals. So is he sort of, in terms of the assets that you think people should be watching from Italy, is he sort of one that you think people should have their eye on?
Yeah, I do actually. I have heard, I've seen a few things on Twitter, and that I'll check there's a good page. I think it's Football Italia that normally gets the lineups right for Italy. So I'll have a look at that probably after the pod. I'm hearing that maybe he might actually get the start after his goal. So definitely want to keep an eye on, but I wouldn't say he's the the number one sort of target to look at. I think if we're going to go Italy, and we're actually going to go with an attacker, I think Insigne. Insigne is probably the one. Lively little player.
Yeah, he gets in all the right positions, doesn't he? Strings the passes together, makes Italy sort of tick in their attack, doesn't he? So, definitely Munier and Insigne. I definitely think that people can't disagree with those two being the assets to watch from that game. And then if we move on to Sunday morning before, the massive England game that we're all caring about, we've got Czech Republic, Denmark, which, again, could definitely be a brilliant game. Two sides that have shown that they're willing to attack and score a lot of goals. Patrick Schick's the second highest top goal scorer in the competition so far. So if you're looking at Czech Republic, Jack, who are you sort of looking at?
Yeah, there's probably two in there. I was going to say Schick. Obviously, you've just mentioned him, and he's obviously been bagging goals. Looks good. He's got everything in his toolbox. And I suppose the other one is one of our FPL favourites with Soufal. He's going to be an attacking game. It's a very attacking fullback. He's an absolute machine, bombing up and down, and I think he's had a couple of assists already in the competition. So I think he'd be a good asset defensively. Obviously, I'm liking my defensive assets today, aren't I?
Yeah, well, it's been interesting because the defenders in this competition so far have managed to rack up a lot of points with their goals and their assists and clean sheets. So they're definitely it's important to go strong in your defense as well, I think. And it was interesting. I was thinking about it the other day. It's been a while since Thomas Souček's managed to pull up with a header from a set piece or arriving late at the back post. So I think he's maybe one to watch as well for this game. As he's sort of probably due a goal. You'd like to hope he's a massive presence from set pieces I just mentioned. So yeah, definitely wouldn't look past him as well if you're looking for a cheaper sort of budget midfield option. We saw what he could do with the Premier League this season. So I wouldn't be surprised if he manages to pop up with a goal or an assist in this game. But if we look at Denmark, Matt, you've got a lot of players to pick from here. They obviously just won 4-0. So if you had to pick, one or two players that people should probably be getting in their teams, who are you sort of going to go with?
Yeah, number one's definitely Marla, the fullback. I think he's going to be in every single person's team. So if you don't think he's going to do well and you decide to go against him, then you could get up on everyone, because I think he will be in every single person's lineup. So he's number one. And then if I'm looking at a second one, maybe even Dolberg, obviously coming with a couple of goals, but again, they're going to put him back in because Poulsen was starting all the games before. So
he's got to start, and surely.
You'd think he'd have to start, but Poulsen had scored in in games before. He'd contributed in every game, so it's a tough one. We'll go with Dolberg as the second one.
Yeah, Yeah, good choices there as well, boys. And then, the final game of the quarterfinals, the big one for us as England fans at 5 a.m. Melbourne time on Sunday morning is England-Ukraine. So I think it'd be rude to, mention a Ukraine asset considering, it's coming home and England are just going to turn them over and, book their ticket into the semi-final. So I will give you the honour of picking the England asset, Jack, for this one. So who do you think is going to be, delivering for England? Is it going to be Raheem Sterling again, or do you think, maybe Harry Kane's going to be back among the goals now, or what are you thinking?
Oh, listen, I'll leave one asset to the guru to say, and I'll say the other one, which is Raheem Sterling. Yeah, I think he's got to go in. I've obviously been toying around with my team, and I didn't have him in, and now he's back in again. So yeah, I think he's got to play. He's a man on form. 15 in the last 20, 3 in the last 4. He gets in the right positions. He's Southgate's number one. He's the mount to the Lampard, as you say. So yeah, he's got to be in, and he's got to be the one.
Yeah, very good choice there. And he's delivering for England at the minute. 3 goals at the Euros so far. So yeah, he'll probably be back among the goals. Fingers crossed for the Ukraine game. And then Matt, I'll give you a pick here if you want to choose for Ukraine or for England. If you had to pick another asset, who are you sort of going to go with?
Look,
just say
if we're going England, there's only one man I'm going to pick, isn't there? So, yeah, obviously Harry Kane. I think there's a couple of Ukraine prospects I like. There's a couple of players I like there, but if I'm gonna pick another asset from this game, it's going to be Harry Kane.
Yeah, fingers crossed, he can be back among the goals as well. As he, we'll move on to sort of talking about our teams now. Is he one that you're going to have to look to sort of get into your team, Matt? Because obviously Memphis Depay left the competition off the top of my head. He was in your team, wasn't he? So, you sort of got the transfers that you do have. Do you get 3 or do you get 5?
Yeah, 3 for me, and Kane will be in there. I think again, similar to Marla for Denmark, I think Kane will be in everyone's team. But again, we have seen from the group, his form hasn't looked great, but he's got the monkey off his back now. So, but yeah, he'll be in my team straight out from Mbappe. Yeah,
absolutely. And Jack, obviously, me and you do have the leisure and the honour of having our wild card still. So, sort of for your team, if you want to just take us through a couple of players that you're sort of going to be looking at, who's sort of on your radar.
Yeah, what I'll do, I'll for those watching, I'll share it on my screen just now. Just give me 2 seconds. I think this is actually the hardest wild card I've played. And obviously I was whinging about that in the Discord earlier to you. But I think it's absolute headache material, and this is what I've changed since I sent it to the guru. I've brought in a couple of assets that we've mentioned on there. I have gone a bit heavy on Spain at the moment. Obviously, I think I've got 4 assets in there, but starting from I'll just start on the bench. I've got Pickford, Sterling, Shaw, and Kane. Obviously, I've mentioned all them ones in the pod earlier on with the review. The 4 obviously hot ones in there, and obviously I don't know what he's going to do with Grealish, so I've kind of kept Grealish out for now. I've took him out, and then in goal, I've gone Simon in goal for Spain. Just try and navigate through these fixtures is so tough. I've put Azpilicueta, Spinazzola, Meunier, and Marla at the back, and then in midfield, just with that cheaper asset with Zuba, with his attacking threat, Sarabia, Thorgan Hazard, Ferran Torres, Lukaku, and Dolberg. That's the kind of setup I've gone. I have changed it. I did have Schick in there, but just with bringing Sterling in, I've lost a couple of million in there, so couldn't afford him. But that's what it looks like at the moment. Obviously, we've got, I think, 7 hours till the deadline. So it still might be a bit of headache material up until then, and depending who's starting in these for the Belgian team. But I presume that'll be pretty predictable as it is in terms of what I've got asset-wise. But not too sure what you boys think, but that's how I'm looking so far.
Yeah, well, it's just a little bit interesting, I think, because, the guru's so heavily relying on Italy to manage to pull through. And then, you've sort of gone with more Belgium assets as opposed to his Italy assets. So are you thinking that Belgium are going to come out on top of that game?
I'm just thinking, like Lukaku in Italy this year, he bagged 46 goals, was it, this season? Or something ridiculous.
Something like that, mate.
It was outrageous in Italy. So, I'm trying to take that kind of form into this game and going, well, he's versus the Italians. He'll feel at home against some of them at their back, and he might feel he can bully his way through and get the goals, And in terms of Hazard, his attacking threat in the last couple of games has been, He's been second to none. He's on fire. He's got full of confidence. And obviously Mounier, obviously I didn't want to pull away from him. So for me, he was in. So I think that's why the Belgium assets have been heavily done. The Italian ones, you just don't know where it's going to come from. Immobile started off on fire. Don't know if he's going to deliver. He hasn't. I was even thinking Belotti might even get a start. But Berardi, I really liked him, and he's a cheap asset. But I kind of went with Sarabia instead, instead of Berardi, because he hasn't hit in that last game. So yeah, maybe more Belgium orientated.
We'll just have to see then, mate, won't we? But yeah, we'll move on to you now, Matt, and your team. Obviously, we mentioned that you don't have your wild card, unfortunately. But for the 3 transfers, I think it is that you said that you can make. Who are you sort of going to be looking at?
Yeah, look, my squad's pretty depleted. Jesus, I might have to make a 4. I might have to take a hit. I don't like a hit. I think that's your team, Elliot.
Yeah, that's my team. I don't think I can bring yours up, can I?
No,
you can click on his team though. Maybe click on his team and bring it up.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to. I think it's just going to be about getting the England boys in there. I think, I can't predict. I've already got a lot of Italians, so I can't really do much about that. I've got to keep them in there. I've just got to pray that they can pull a result out against the very good Belgium side. And then I think the Spain, Switzerland, I don't want to go too hard on transfers from that game because I actually think it's going to be, like you said earlier, a tricky one. Spain have let a lot of goals in. They've scored a lot of goals in their last 2, but I think Switzerland are, they're a lot better than we give them credit for. They've just knocked out the world champions. So, and then when I look at the other fixture, I think England's probably the one where I look at it and think, all right, probably going to definitely or should be going through. So I think I'm going to have to back the England players. So I'll be obviously looking at Harry Kane, of course, Sterling probably, just the sort of the ones that I guess everyone else has got just to kind of keep play. Probably look at a defender, and then I don't have a goalkeeper, so I might stick a goalie in, and then that'll probably be taking a hit.
Keeper.
No keeper, so I'll take a hit there, and then I'll probably end up playing with 10 men instead of losing another 4. So, in terms of strategies for obviously other people who don't have wild cards, you might be looking at taking a -8, a -12 to get 11 on the park, or a bench. But I've always been not too keen on taking the hit, so I'd rather take 1 hit, have 10 men on the park because you'd need that 11th player to get at least 5 to 6 points to get your hit back. So. I'd rather just take 1 hit and leave it at that. Wait for the semis when everyone's wild cards are gone, and we're all looking the same. So I think England boys are who I'm going to back. I'm not liking the other fixtures; just too close to call.
I think on that note as well, Guru. Obviously, you get 5 transfers for the semi-finals, right? So if you can ride it, obviously, well, you're going to have to ride it if you can. But if you're not tempted to make all them transfers. And start taking multiple hits, then obviously, as you said, for the listeners out there, it might be wise just to try and ride it, and then everyone's back on that kind of level playing field again, aren't they? The transfers wise.
Yeah, I reckon so. And if I look at my team, I could have gone heavy on the transfers and got a bench and lost more hits. But if Italy pull through, and I'm saying that's an if because Belgium are number 1 in the world, I think. So if Italy pull through, if England get through. I'll have a lineup for the semi-finals, and I'll be able to use my 5 transfers to actually build a bit more of a squad. But we'll see how I go. I am going to be playing with 10 men. Man sent off, so let's see how we go.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a little bit interesting for you there, and it'll be a really interesting game. I think it's going to be difficult. It's sort of a all eggs in one basket sort of thing for a lot of people, and it's going to be interesting. If we look at my team ever so quickly, I'm like Jack. I'm really not too sure with it. There's a lot of stuff, as Chris just mentioned there. Chris folding like a garden chair, isn't he? His head's gone. It's just really, sort of getting involved there with, his brilliant Mbappe shout at the start of the season as, the Euro asset to watch has definitely paid off. So he's got the credibility to have a go at you there, Guru. But if we look at my team, it's sort of a little bit indecisive for me. I think I've got, a mixture of Belgium and Italy, which I think I'm going to have to trim down towards one way. I think, similarly to Jack, I think Belgium will come out on top in this one. So I think, maybe looking to get Donnarumma out for maybe Courtois or something like that. Because, if at the end of the day, from that game alone, I'm going to have to make at least 3 transfers, or 2 maybe if Belgium go out. But that's already 2 of my 5 gone, and it's just going to be a little bit difficult. But similarly to Jack, the England boys on the bench and then Kane up top. Shaqiri's probably the one for me that I'm a little bit wary that Switzerland could manage to progress. So he's going to be going in, and then Sarabia as well, and Pau Torres. So it's just a difficult one because, as we were saying, it's sort of all eggs in one basket, that sort of thing. So it's going to be difficult. There'll be changes for me within the 7 or so hours that we've got until the deadline. But that's our teams for the quarterfinals, and that wraps up the preview section of the podcast. So now that that's all out of the way, we will move on to the Guru section now, where, Matt, you do it every week, always reliable. You mentioned a lot of players last week that managed to perform this week. So you've got your ones to watch, your captain, and your curveball captain. So take it away, mate.
Thanks, Elliot. It's going to be a quick one this week because we've actually covered off quite a few of the players in the pod already. So we'll start with the differentials, and I'm going to pick one from, try and get one from each game. So I'm going to go with Serovic from Switzerland. He obviously bagged 2 against France. Definitely a differential. I think a lot of people are going to be looking at the Lukaku's, the Kanes, maybe even Schick. They're going to forget about Switzerland, and I think Spain, they let 3 goals in the last game. So definitely one to look out for. Big differential for this round. Another one going into the Italy game. Wanted to try and back Italy a little bit. Obviously, I've said I think it's going to be Belgium's game. I'm going to put Chiesa. I know we had him at the start. He scored in the last game. I just got a feeling he might get a start. I'm not sure, but even if the game does go into extra time, he'll come off the bench, and you can always grab yourself a goal. Another one, we've mentioned him on the pod numerous times tonight, Ferran Torres. I think he's one to watch. I'd say he's a bit of a differential just in the fact that I don't think too many teams are going to double up on that Spanish midfield. I think it's going to be a Torres and maybe a Morata, or Sarabia and a Morata. So I think he could be a bit of a differential there. And then I'm going to go with Denmark and Dolberg, who we've already mentioned. If he gets a start, he scored 2 in the last game. So I think, again, a bit of a differential because everyone's going to be looking at that Kane, Schick and Lukaku combo, I think. And the last one is actually going to be from the England-Ukraine game. And it's not going to be an England player. It is going to be a Ukrainian. And I think the reason being, I've just got to take a bit of bias away and got to think, that Ukraine, they have got, they're in this game for a reason. They've made it to the quarterfinals. I'm going to go with Zinchenko. And then reason being is, one, huge differential because everyone's going to have a team full of about at least 4 or 3 England players in there. And second reason, he grabbed an assist and a goal, I believe, in the last game, and he's been playing in this midfield role. They think he might be on penalties as well. So yeah, he's going in my differentials for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Some great picks there, mate. And, as you mentioned with the Ukraine assets, I'm sort of agreeing with you a little bit. I think England will manage to progress, but I've got a feeling we won't keep a clean sheet and that Ukraine will pop up with, probably a goal, maybe even 2. So it'll definitely be interesting. But some really good picks there. Just let us know your captain picks there.
So captain picks. But I'm trying to pull one from each game. So the Spain game, I'm going to go with Alvaro Morata. Look, he's got himself in positions to score in pretty much every match. He did score a great goal against Croatia as well. I think he's a good captain pick. And then in the Belgium-Italy game, Lukaku, speaks for himself. Jack mentioned before, he's got experience playing against these Italian players. He's a flat track bully, knows where the net is, and he's scored a few goals in this tournament already. Then going into the England game, I think Raheem Sterling, 3 goals already in the tournament. He's getting in all the right positions, so I think he's a bit of a, an obvious pick. And then going into the Czech Republic Denmark game, and this is a game that I think is going under the radar in terms of fantasy picks because there's a lot of really good options to pick from, and captain's going to have to be Patrick Schick. He's up there in the top scorers list. He's scored in almost every game other than the England one. So he's definitely got to be a captain shout for me.
Yeah, absolutely. A really good pick there. I think he's got 4 goals, so he's only sitting one behind Ronaldo. And, if that doesn't motivate you to get the golden boot at the Euros, then I don't really know what will motivate him to score goals. But there's some brilliant captain picks there. Definitely ones that people should look at. But the one that really excites me each week is the curveball captain. So who have you gone with this week?
Yeah, I'm in so many minds because as we've spoken on the pod, other players are coming to my head, but I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to go with the man from the last round. I'm going to put Thorgan Hazard down there.
Oh, definitely an interesting one. Are you going to, manage to back him in this week, do you think, and get him in your team maybe? Or, as we mentioned with the Italy assets, is just going to be too difficult to get him in, do you think?
Yeah, look, I'm just so sewn up in Italians. I just can't get anyone in from Belgium, unfortunately, and I'd love to. But, look, I've got to back England and Italy for this round for my team, but I'd love to have him.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed that pays off for you there. And, all the insight given to you there by the guru. Just a reminder that if you are on our Discord, you can get direct access to him. As Matt Gasden, asked the question, does the guru think football is coming home? Which, is the most important question that you can be asked on the podcast. Does the guru think that football is coming home?
He does.
He does. All right, that's the best thing that you've said all guru section. Come on, England, and thank you, Matt. That wraps up the guru section. So if we move on now to the close of the podcast, it's going to be a brilliant set of games, Jack, isn't it? And really, as me and you have our wild cards, it's going to be see how it goes. Are you sort of expecting big-ish things this week from your team?
Yeah, I mean, I've put a decent spread across all these kind of teams that are in these last games. I've tried to spread it across just to lessen the chance and not rely all on one team. Obviously, there are only quite a few Spain assets in there and a couple of Belgium, but three or four, 3 assets if I can for each one. For each kind of main of the teams that I liking, just to reduce that risk going into that next round, but try and find those big assets who are going to deliver. I'm pretty nervous. Like I said, I think it's the hardest kind of wild card we've played, just because it's a big one, especially when we're competing in our prize league, in our paid league. I think it's just wanting to catch up, but also run with the pack as well, and to make sure you stay up there. But try and find those differentials and little picks. So yeah, probably I'm guessing you're in a bit of a similar boat, El.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit, perplexed as to, do you go with backing one team in one game completely, or do you go with, maybe 1 or 2 assets from each? Yeah. It's just caught in two minds. It's, is it an all eggs in one basket situation in your opinion as well, or what are you thinking?
No, like I say, it's just you got to keep that spread across. I think it's come up with surprise already. 3 of the biggest teams in the tournament have already come crashing out. So I think you've got to spread it across. Anything can happen in the Euros now. It's just another game. I don't think there's we talk about favourites and stuff, but when you put in Belgium, Italy, I can't pick them apart. I'm just thinking Lukaku versus Italy. He's ran it on his own this year, so I think that's why I'm also swayed towards them, but can't pick. And just had a comment in there as well. And Reedy, who obviously one of our who jumps on the panel every now and then with us, and in the UK, chances we pick Sterling and he doesn't deliver. It's another good one. I've picked 4 England assets in there. Sterling being one. He's on fire. Talked him up in the pod. The hype's real. He's delivered on the pitch. He's in great form. What are the chances he doesn't deliver? Listen, I picked him in FPL this year. Came off the bench, took a penalty in the last 5 minutes and blazed it, and absolutely killed me. He was my captain pick. So if he does that again to me this time, that's me and Sterling done forever.
Definitely, mate. It'll be interesting. But we mentioned, we've obviously got our wild card. So who do you think is going to be your team for the first games?
Captain was that? Sorry.
Yeah, your captain. I'm leaning towards more, looking at Lukaku, as you mentioned a lot for me, I think. But who are you going with? Yeah,
I'm going to go Lukaku for me.
Yeah, I think, it's a pretty easy decision. Obviously, the guru probably won't have the luxury of getting in too many Belgium assets for himself. But who are you sort of going to go for guru just really quickly?
don't know if his internet.
I don't
Internet's too
think
good
he's
there.
here, so you'll have to find out next week on the podcast who the Guru has gone with for his captain. So
I can't hear anything, boys. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
We thank you all very much for watching the round of 16 review and the quarterfinal preview podcast by FPL Addicts and powered by Esports Live. May all of your Euro fantasy dreams come true in the quarterfinals. Take care, stay safe. It's coming home, and goodbye for now.
Come on, England.